Welcome, everyone. We're going to get back to the meeting, and Mr. Ritchie, would you give us an announcement from closed session?
Yes, sir. Thank you. After closed session, direction was given to staff, but there was no reportable action tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Tracy Johnstone if you'd lead us, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Couple of housekeeping items. If you need to use the restroom, it's right down the hall. And if we ever do have to leave the building, we have an exit over here, and we have the exit that you came into. And again, if we have like an earthquake or something, we would all like you to coordinate and meet out in the parking lot so we can account for everyone. And we'll have Mr. Tens, Chief Tens will be our clearing officer to make sure everybody's out of the building. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Next item we have is adoption of agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you. Next item is the presentation of the unfunded accrued liability update from PERS. Who gets to handle this? Ruth?
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. We have our municipal finance advisors on the line, and they're going to present to you an update to our pension liability. So I'll turn you over to Eric Scriven, Roy Kim, and Mike Meyer.
Thank you, Ruth, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I'm going to just take a few seconds here to share the presentation, so give me a second. Just confirming that the council can see the slide deck?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as Ruth mentioned, we're here to give a quick update on the CalPERS pension situation for the city of Oroville. This is something we've done annually over the last 3 or 4 years. At a high level, we'll talk about changes that CalPERS has made over the last couple of years and how that's going to impact the city's unfunded liability going forward. Look at some the recent cost changes as well as the projected cost over the next 15 to 20 years, as well as looking at how the city can utilize various cost management strategies to stabilize these rising costs moving forward. The recent reports by CalPERS were released a couple months ago, and the city has a $15.2 million unfunded accrued liability with CalPERS. That is about a $2.4 million increase from the prior year. That's due to the fact that CalPERS did not meet their investment targets in fiscal year 23. So it was $12.8 million prior to that. There is some good news. CalPERS did beat their return target in fiscal year 24. They earned 9.3%, so quite a bit higher than the 6.8% target. That is projected to decrease the UAL to about $14.3 million based on our estimates, and the city will see that change next summer in the 2025 actuarial reports. As you're probably aware, the city also has about $17 million of outstanding pension obligation bonds that were issued in 2021. At that time, the goal was to restructure about $19 million of CalPERS UAL and also refinance the 2007 bonds that were outstanding. And both of those were restructured at a 3.21% interest rate with a level payment schedule. And we'll look at both the UAL and the POB payments and what that looks like to the in terms of impact to the city's budget moving forward in a few slides. We'll also get into looking at how the city can leverage its 115 trust and other cost management strategies to continue to stabilize these rising costs. Just quickly to kind of reclarify what the unfunded liability is. The city makes two payments to CalPERS annually. The first being what's called the normal cost, and this is the cost to keep up with current employees. The second and the larger portion of the payment to CalPERS each year is to pay down the unfunded accrued liability, and essentially also known as the UAL. And really that's the shortfall or the difference between what the city actually has in assets with CalPERS, which is shown in the left. On the right side of the slide, there's a graphic in the dark blue bar on the left there, the market value of assets. That's $82.7 million. That's what you currently have with CalPERS. The actuarial liability is $97.9 million, and that's the amount you would need to have to be fully funded. So the difference between that is the $15.2 million. It's a large number. CalPERS doesn't require you to pay that all at once, but they amortize that just like any sort of loan over time at a 6.8% interest rate. Slide 5 is there's quite a bit going on here graphically, but a very important slide. So just to make it a bit more digestible, if we just focus on the top part of the slide in the circles there, that shows the trends in the UAL debt with CalPERS over the last 4 years. So if you see in 2021 there wasn't any unfunded liability. That was a combination of the fact that you had restructured 19 million of UAL at that time, combined with CalPERS having a very good year with 21% returns. But if you move to the right there in the black circle, that's when you saw the UAL reappear to the tune of $12.8 million. That's because CalPERS had a negative 7.5% return year, so that missed their mark by over 14%. They had a 6.1% year in 23, which slightly increased the UAL to 15.2 million. And as I stated on the first slide, we do expect that UAL to come down closer to 14 million once the recent 9.3% returns are incorporated. In terms of the impact on the city's budget, what it pays out each year to service the debt on the pension bonds as well as this UAL, the chart below in the bars goes back to 2018 and also projects out these costs through 2044. You can see the drop in payments after 2022 there. That is after the city restructured 19 million into that pension obligation bond. That the payments on that pension obligation bond are shown in the light purple. That represents about $17 million of pension bonds outstanding. You can see their level payments at around that $1.5 million mark. And you can see a big dip in payments over the last couple of years, and also projected to have lower payments next year as well as in 2026. This is from the savings from the pension obligation bond, as well as lower payments from that good year they had in 2021. As we'll get to, the city has done a great job to protect these savings and take those savings and put it into what's called a 115 trust, which is a separate trust that you can use to dip into to stabilize future payments. The blue bars represent the payments on the new $14 million unfunded liability. And the reason it starts out in 26 and then escalates from there is because there's a 2-year lag between the time CalPERS has a down year and when they actually make you start paying for that. And then beyond that 2 years, they actually have a 5-year ramp up. So basically your payments escalate from years 3 through 7 before they level out. So as I mentioned before, the city has been quite proactive in managing these rising costs. And one of the strategies has been to take the savings from the 2021 pension bond and put that into a 115 trust. The city does have assets in the trust, both for OPEB and pension. Specifically for the pension, that balance is currently $3.9 million. That's invested in a conservative portfolio with PARs that earned about 6.7% last year. So what we've done in the chart here is just to visually depict how the city can use assets in that trust to help reduce the burden on the general fund in future years. And so that orange dotted line represents what the general fund would actually need to pay in future years. So everything above that orange dotted line to the top of the blue bars would be paid for from that 115 trust. So that based on these projections, the city can start withdrawing funds from that trust in 2028 and use that money to help offset those costs in future years. Again, this is a visual kind of depiction of how that trust can be leveraged. If the city does find additional resources to put into that trust, then it could obviously withdraw more in future years and just bring down that orange line, or essentially what the general fund has to pay out each year. So in conclusion, the city has taken several proactive measures over the last 4 years. We talked about the restructuring. If the city had not done that restructuring, we do estimate the overall UAL for the city would be over 32 million right now. And importantly, it would be a much more volatile repayment shape and a very quickly escalating repayment shape as well. So restructuring that 19 million has been very helpful for the city. And again, that 115 trust has been built to 3.9 million. As you can see through this presentation, as well as the last couple of years, things are always changing with CalPERS. So anytime they change an assumption, anytime they have a below average year on their investment performance, it does directly impact the UAL. And so revisiting this each year is recommended just to make sure that the current strategy is sound. Make sure that that 115 trust or any other reserves are built to strong enough levels so that the city can feel comfortable that it can withstand the future cost increases coming down the line. In that middle bullet there, we do understand there is some fund balance assigned to pensions. Internally, it's not in the 115 trust. That is something potentially the city next spring as part of the budget process could look at, just to see if using some of that could be helpful in terms of whether it's bolstering that 115 trust or just taking some of that money to pay down CalPERS directly and reduce that UAL. Those are options that the city has. And then very lastly, the city obviously has been very diligent about doing these consistent updates and fine-tuning its strategy. I think it's also important to model out potentially other pessimistic scenarios. They are looking at adjusting the discount rate next year. And of course, we know that CalPERS has had some down years in the past. So modeling out some more pessimistic scenarios as well is often helpful to make sure that these reserve levels are healthy enough. So with that, I don't know, my colleague Eric Scriven is also on the line. If I missed anything, please chime in. But I think at this point, we'll just open it up to any questions.
Any questions from council? I have a question for the presenter. You know, the word unfunded liability is always difficult to absorb because it makes the public think that we've missed something. I would prefer it to be called PERS failed investments. Wow. That's really what it is. And, you know, I'm going to ask PERS one day to change that title because the public would understand it if that's what was being properly described here.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. That's exactly why we're talking the words unfunded liability. It's PERS failed to properly get the investments that were targeted. So it's more of a statement, but have you ever heard anybody use that term in your dealings with this topic?
I have not heard that term before, but you're exactly right, council member. I mean, these are issues that are outside of the city's control. The city's paid its bills each year. The fact that every city in the state has a UAL is due to CalPERS not making their investment targets. We actually just, on our website, we just put out a newsletter last week that we did a lot of research across the state on other agencies. You know, the average funding ratio for most agencies right now is in the 70 percentile. The city of Oroville is in the 85 to 90 percentile when you include the 115 trust. So obviously doing doing a lot. There's not many cities that are fully funded. I think there's a lot of folks out there that would probably caution against trying to get that, too high. But in comparison, the city of Oroville has been doing quite well when we look at those metrics compared to other cities. But you're exactly right that that UAL is something that's out of the city's control, and it's due to factors that at CalPERS.
I appreciate that conversation. Councilman Goodson has a question for you.
Gosh. So, what would it take for us to cover our debt of unfunded liabilities and pursue another option?
In terms of other options, what do you have in mind?
I know that there's been other cities, not a lot, a minuscule amount, that have just been able to find another course. It's
Yeah, I have not
aside
heard of
from
any.
PERS.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all I was going to say.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are, and Eric, you could chime as well. There are you can get out of CalPERS if you pay their termination payment, which I believe for the city
For
would
us,
be in
what
the
would it be?
hundreds, over $100 million, something very cost prohibitive. But we have had clients ask about this, but we have never seen that happen because it's just impossible for any city financially to make that type of commitment.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from staff or council members?
Mayor Pittman, I will attend that CalPERS meeting with you
Okay.
and tell them to change the name.
Thank you. I would hope they would accept that. Well, we appreciate the information and thank you for your presentation, and especially the detail in your diagrams was very helpful. You know, colors mean everything for a lot of times when we're looking at spreadsheets. So thank you very much. All right, next item is public communication.
Mr.
Any
Mayor,
cards?
we did actually have a public hearing time for 4:30. Should we
Oh.
take that first?
If how many cards do we have for?
Public hearing?
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, for public comment, we have 2.
Well, let's get those 2 out of the way, and then we'll go to the hearing.
Okay, sounds great. We'll begin with the cameraman and follow that with Bill Spear.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. I'll try and be quick with what I got here. Just wanted to note, last council meeting at the State Theater, I put my speaker card in kind of early. Mike Ramsey showed up kind of later, so kind of wondering how we kind of got like 2 or 3 speakers off. I was figuring I'd be way before him, not kind of sort of after him. But anyway, just maybe something to look in more, a little more card management at those bigger events. But I'd like to also bring up just a few issues in the city going on. Most recently, the VFW, those guys got burglarized, stuff stolen for their air conditioner. And I mean, it's one thing to go into Walmart and steal some stuff, you know, big corporation, but to steal from our veterans of foreign war, I mean, that is just pure low. That is low value activity going on there. So I don't know if the city can look in as helping them out, but if anything, I hope the police department is putting some effort into, you know, at least getting some justice in regards to whoever committed that act. Put in some PRA requests. Glad to see that those are finally getting addressed. Spoke to the city clerk, and she confirmed that, yeah, for whatever reason, previous, you know, management didn't take care of that, but I'm glad the city is finally, you know, taking care of these requests. You know, that's a good step in the right direction. It encourages them to say, hey, to other people, if you're going to make a request, it's going to get responded to and not mysteriously disappeared, hopefully. And also would like to bring up the food, I guess it was supposed to be like a food truck hangout or group or whatever to get together there by the Home Depot on 3rd Street by the courthouse. I don't know if that's still active or what, but the sign advertising it has been taken down. Weeds are overgrowing, and, you know, I appreciate the idea, but, you know, I don't know if they didn't do any research or what, but kind of everybody's got their own little spot at the gas station or, you know, kind of their own hookup. I mean, it's a good idea, but it's been sitting for like half a year now almost, and it's just going overgrown. And I like new ideas being brought to our city, but I'm just thinking that space, and people don't like the idea of homeless people, but all these, they don't want them. Well, here's an empty lot that's just sitting that could be used for put a porta potty there, or some sort of services, and it's just overgrowing with weeds, and it looked like it was going to be something great, and now it's just rotting. So if there's anything the city knows about that, can comment, that'd be great. Thank you.
We'll ask for that during the department head.
Thank you. Up
Reports.
next, we have Bill Spear.
Welcome, Bill.
Oh, okay, just the porta potty.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. So, being election day, I was going to share Ecclesiastes 10:2, but then I seen what the verse of the day was, and it's like way better. And it says, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together
Amen.
in unity." A lot better verse. So, Father God, we thank you for election day in our city, in our county, in our state, and in our nation. And we ask that you would heal your people, that you would, the enemy tries to divide us, that you would help to unify us. Whoever wins in all these different elections, you are still God. You are King. And we thank you for the hope that we have in you. And it says in your word that there's no authority except that which you have established. And so we thank you for all of those people who have went through all the attacks and been attacked and attacking and all the stuff, trying to answer the call to be leaders. We pray for their families. We pray for restoration and healing and wholeness. We pray that as we're past all of this, that we would have a spirit of unity, that the pleasantness that we just read about would come upon us, that we would have the quiet waters, the green pastures, the paths of righteousness for your name's sake. We intercede for our state. Yes. Our state is in desperate need of you. We pray for wisdom for whoever it is that's, that you raise up. We pray for our nation. Our nation is in desperate need of your wisdom, of your blessings. We pray for Israel. In your word it says, pray for the peace of Israel. And as we look at the time clock of what is going on in Israel, it says for us to raise our head, for our salvation draws near. And so we pray that you would help us to get our minds off of the flesh, off the battle, and into the spirit, into the solution, into the source, into the healer, the Savior, our Redeemer, our Lord, our God, our King. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
That's all I have for submitted speaker cards, sir.
All right. Well, being how we're a little bit late, let's go to our public hearing. We'll go to item number 10. We'll call a public hearing to order at roughly 4:50. And it's modifications to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, First-Time Homebuyer Program Guidelines. Amy?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. It's a state community development block grant requirement that a public hearing is required when any changes are made to program guidelines, allowing citizens and the community opportunity for input. Prior to these draft guidelines, the city combined program guidelines to include the statute and language from both the CDBG program and the Home Investment Partnership Program. These are two funding sources that we use to fund our first-time homebuyer program. And in the current guidelines, we just called out the differences in each. In this case, the home program was required by HUD to make changes to their guidelines, and in the process, they decided they wanted to separate the two completely. So because CDBG requires a public hearing, that is what we're doing today. We're simply just removing any language of home-specific language from the CDBG guidelines, and at a later date, I'll be bringing back the home guidelines once the home program approves those.
Thank you. Any questions from staff or council members? Seeing none, we'll, let's see, what's our? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 9324.
A motion.
Second.
We'll call the roll on motion 9324.
Motion passes with 5 yeses, 2 absent.
All right. Item number 11 is again in the public hearing regarding the adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 9, Sections 04.030 City Parks Use Regulations incorporating language restricting camping in parks and public spaces. Mr. Legrone, thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for the time. What I have before you tonight for your consideration is to amend Section 9.04.30 of the Orrville Municipal Code and align it with the City Code to reflect the executive order issued by Governor Newsom, Executive Order N-1-24, which addresses camping in public spaces. Since the ruling by the Supreme Court regarding the Grants Pass versus Johnson that allows for the removal of individuals that are camping in public spaces, the cities around California have been doing different things to address that. Namely, Hemet adopted an ordinance that has been adopted and tried and tested and seems to be the way that people are going with that. So what the proposal is tonight is that we would amend our code and add a few different things to our code. Right now, what we're doing is we're adding to the title of it, instead of parks, we're adding public space. To that to include parks. The additions will make it unlawful to to camp in any public space. It defines what camping is for us. It defines what sleeping is to include in vehicles, motorhomes, campers, coaches, fifth wheels, trailers, various different ones. It addresses erecting tents or camping facilities. It defines what storage of personal property is in public space. It defines what a public space is. It addresses how personal property will be removed from public space and what will happen to the personal property once it is removed. Personal property is going to be defined by the State of California Department of Transportation Directive MOP 1001-R-1. And it will also define for us how we're going to dispose of that property as to whether we're going to keep it, dispose of it, depending on the value of it. We'll use the guidelines set forth by the state following the governor's executive order. So what I'm here for tonight is to get any council feedback or any adjustments that you would like to see to this suggested change in our ordinances and our municipal code, and move this forward. If the council chooses not to change anything on this and directs to bring it back as a second reading, this ordinance would go into effect in 2025. It would be February 1st of 2025. We're trying to align that with ensuring that we do have Mission Esperanza open and capable of meeting the needs of those that are currently living unhoused.
Excellent. We looks like we have a question from Councilmember Weber first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. More of an observation. I'm just thrilled to see that this is coming to us. As we know, this issue has been managed very well by code enforcement and OPD in our city. We certainly are not like other cities that I frequent in my travels for work. I see a lot more activity, but this will also be preventative in nature, not to be used as a tool like the first tool in the toolbox, but for a tool nonetheless for those surface-resistant people that are refusing to take reasonable accommodations that are being offered by services or whatnot. We have 2 service providers right here in the room that do an excellent job of providing services to a lot of these individuals that need to get off the street. So this is just another tool in our toolbox. And so let's not let the public get it confused and think that we're going to use this indiscriminately, wielding it like some kind of Viking berserker sword to bludgeon these folks into submission, because that's not the intention. The intention, of course, is to just hopefully provide service to the individuals that need it and to provide a certain assurance of quality of life to the people that need access to these public spaces. So thank you for bringing this. I'm super happy that this got brought, and I'm very, very appreciative of this being an item right now. So thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Smith is next in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a simple question of protocol. As you know, we have some changes potentially before the, well, not potentially, they are before the voters that may make some changes, and to the, in particular to the Parks Commission. And so I notice the Parks Commission is mentioned frequently in this updated document. And I know this is the first reading. Would, assuming that we get the affirmative, would that then change some of the language in here potentially?
No, sir, this has nothing to do with the Parks Commission. This is using the current code as we currently have it. This is amending the section to add public space to it. The Parks Commission does not manage public space.
Right, but
this gives us an enforcement mechanism in our code.
I understand that, but just that the authority of the Parks Commission may change.
Well, you may have to go back at some point and clean all of your code of that.
Well,
I mean, if the change is made, but that it doesn't affect this particular ordinance.
Okay, I guess I'm just maybe.
Yeah, you know, in reviewing this, we noticed a couple of items that I think need to be cleaned up in our municipal code. And once we know the results of the charter impacts, absolutely, we will have to clean that up in the code. And again, it's unrelated to the item tonight, but it will be some cleanup with
It's
the
just
authority.
language. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
You'll probably have cleanup, I'll bet you, over the next year, just of things that the council will see as the changes come into effect.
Yeah. I think all for the good, but yeah, just a quick casual observation at the last
Yes,
minute.
sir.
So thank you.
Do we have any public cards on this at all?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Council members, any questions? What's the pleasure of the council?
I move that we introduce the amendments to Chapter 9, Section 430 of the Oroville Municipal Code regarding the camping in parks and public spaces. I would suggest that we waive the first reading and introduce by title only the ordinance 1883.
So we have a motion and we have direction.
I'm so sorry. There is one motion on there also to direct staff to return to council for a second reading and public hearing.
Is that included in your motion?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So moved.
Can I clarify that? We don't need to return, I don't believe, for a public hearing.
Since this was a public hearing, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, we do only need the one. Is that correct?
Yep.
You just need the one public hearing, but it does
Perfect.
have to come
Okay.
back for a second reading.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yes.
So language is so amended. Mm-hmm. All right, we have a clear motion. Let's call the roll.
Motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and
Thank you
council.
all.
Appreciate that. I hope I wasn't too brief. I'm trying to
No.
get out of here quickly so that you can too move on with your evenings. And I hope that this election is, over soon. And I hope it doesn't cause anyone any anxiety as we move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Late for this one.
Let's see. Council announcements and reports is next. Any council announcements? Councilman Weber looks like he's on the queue.
Thank you very much. I got a couple items I want to address. Yes, the election is over. We made it. Well, it's not over yet, but we don't. But it's happening now. So we made it, and we as a nation will survive whatever happens. So, and we as neighbors will survive whatever happens too. So, I wanted to give kudos to a couple staff members, especially Kayla, because you've handled quite a bit through this process. Ron, I know you've handled quite a bit too. So, you both have been called on quite a bit for different various aspects of this election. So kudos to you. And Public Works, I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Mayo and Alyssa and your efforts with Wade as well and your crew, and then the recent work that's being done on Montgomery here with this beautiful striping that's going down and the Continental. I was telling my brother-in-law, I was saying, we got Continental crosswalks. We're like, we've arrived, right? This is highfalutin stuff. But, it looks great. So I just wanted to give you kudos that you're really doing a good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And code enforcement also, you guys have been so responsive with these carts and being on it. I seen the other morning, it was like 7 a.m. and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I was getting a donut for breakfast, and those guys rolled into the parking lot. The combination of Butte Community Service and CityWorks in the CityWorks truck, and they had a mountain of debris in the back of that truck. And I was like, wow, this is awesome, good job. And they're like, that's just from the last half hour, so really good job. And then also OPD, you've been consistently engaging as well, and I've been noticing. You guys have all been doing a really good job. And lastly, I want to talk about this Christmas toy drive that is happening on November 30th, which is, of course, Black Friday weekend. This is a collaborative effort that will benefit the Orville Resource Center and Rescue Mission for their annual Christmas dinner. But on the bottom here, there's a bunch of collaborators: Pacific Coast Producers, Oro Dam Cruisers, Jordan Crossing Ministries, the OPD, American Legion Riders, Cosmeticut, I believe, Orville Community Development Coalition, and the Kingdom Table have all decided to come together to pull this off on November 30th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Walmart parking lot. The Pacific Coast Producers have been very generous and offered us their trains so we can offer train rides. There's going to be a car show. The American Legion Riders are going to do a bike ride through there. It's going to be great. But I got several of these flyers if anybody would like any. They're right here. But I would encourage us all to come out and to participate in this event, because collaboratively, collectively, we could do a great work for the children in our community. All the toys stay local, right, Pastor Alan Dykes? Mm-hmm. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. And how many years has the Rescue Mission been putting on this dinner? 30 plus years. So this is a great cause for a great event for great kids and a great community. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Vice Mayor Smith is next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Sunday, I was privileged to speak at AMVETS, and that's a veterans organization that really focuses on one of the sad commentaries with our military veterans. They have a disproportionate amount of suicide amongst the members. And so, again, we can never wear out and it's not just a foregone cliche, but thank you for your service, and just acknowledging the fact that these men and women have put their life on the line that we might enjoy the freedoms that we have, and to really mean that from the bottom of our heart as a community. And I pointed out the fact that the city had donated some land for some veterans housing, and of course the tremendous memorial park that we have that's in its final stages of construction, and it's just a beautiful tribute again to the sacrifice that these men and women have made to our country, and some of course the ultimate. But with that being said, I want to point out the fact that we're going to have a parade here in Oroville, the Veterans Day Parade, which is this coming Monday, the 11th, at 11 o'clock in the morning starting. And so come bring your flags, come bring your patriotic spirit to enjoy an amazing Veterans Day parade, honoring our veterans and letting them know that, yes, from the bottom of our heart, from the city of Oroville, thank you for your service. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you all. Any other council? I should make a quick mention that we had a chance to go on the floating classroom that the Department of Water Resources put on, and many of the city staff got a chance to go, and I think it's a very valuable thing. I've been on the river hundreds of times, and I floated with those folks, and I never realized some of the things that I even learned. So if you get a chance to go on the floating classroom that DWR puts on, it's a very valuable thing, and you realize the importance of the salmon to this Oroville area. And there's one species that only exists here in the world. It doesn't exist anywhere else, so it's kind of a big deal. So just mention that, and thanks to DWR to put that on. We'll move to administration reports, and I'm going to ask Mr. Piot if you could tell us any update. I know there was an application for the food truck village. Is that pending, or what's the status of that?
There is an application in for the food truck village on the corner of 3rd and Nelson. He has submitted a site plan, but it didn't have all the things that we need to see for public safety and fire access, turnaround, and all that. So we've asked him to refine his plans and resubmit them. We haven't heard from him since then. We did ask him to take that sign down because it hadn't been approved, and a temporary sign can only be up for a short period of time. So we asked him to remove that, and we can look at the weed situation over there.
Thanks, sir. Any other department heads? Staff reports? Oh,
October 29th was the date that the CDBG application opened for the over-the-counter, and it opened at 9 o'clock in the morning. I got the application for the fire truck and the fire engine submitted by 9:58. Later that day, or the next day, it was announced that all the funds had been claimed, and so it went very quickly. I don't know where we are in line, but I'm hoping that I was fast enough. But I don't know. There could be more. So I'll let you know when I hear.
do you have some other news? The CDBG grant approval?
Oh,
First-time homebuyers?
yeah, oh, sorry. Correct. We did receive an award notification for the first-time homebuyer CDBG PI only application for cash on hand and future receipts for $1.5 million. So that's a very good timing because we were down to about $200,000 to do loans, and so now we have $1.5 million. So, thank you.
All right, excellent, well done. Any other department heads? Mr. Belser? Oh, excuse me, Chris, go ahead, sorry. No, go ahead.
Real quick. The Type 6 fire engine's finally done.
Okay, cool.
Thanks again, Amy. Yeah, we'll get it in the parade. But I have a picture tonight. Hopefully Kayla can get it up. But I really wanted to show the picture for a couple reasons. It's a sign of a lot of hard work behind the scenes by Amy and our folks at the fire station downtown. But it is second red fire engine, and the additional new one that we ordered about a year and a half ago will be red as well. But this is kind of the new color and the new scheme. We're really proud of it, and the new engines will look identical to that as far as the red color, the black stripe, and the silver pinstripe instead of the gold pinstripe. And then on...
When will it be fitted with the bling on the tires?
Hopefully, if we have the money, yeah, it does need a little extra work to it. But we're going to do an in-service ceremony next Thursday, November 14th at 2 at the fire station. You guys, everyone's obviously welcome to come check it out. It's not anything spectacular, but we'll do an in-service push-in ceremony to the App Bay, and council and the community is welcome to come see their new fire engine to the community.
Okay, cool.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's good to hear. Mr. Belser looks like he's ready.
I'm going to hold off on my monthly report until next meeting, just for sake of time. But to answer the cameraman regarding the AC units, the police are working on that. There's at least 6 victims so far. We have surveillance on, we know the location where one of the individuals couch surfs from time to time, and we know the street name of one of the individuals that's involved. So they're actively working on that.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you.
And then as far as the mix-up on the cards, apologize. It was not our normal venue. We had our second string city clerk there, not our original city clerk. There were cards coming in for the fireworks. There were cards coming in the public speak, and some of those got mixed up. So we'll do better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right. Anyone else?
I'll take a stab at it. I'll do my very quick Public Works roundup.
Go, Fred. Thank you.
With no add-ons, just very down and dirty. Just want to let everybody, council know that we've completed our mastic application for the season. We ended up using about 134 pallets of the mastic this year citywide. So we went from 0 to 134. That's a lot. Roughly a dozen tractor trailers worth of material that we actually put on the roads this year. It was quite a bit.
Nice.
And we're excited about that.
Yeah.
So thanks for the opportunity for getting us the funds for that to happen. Obviously, the Montgomery Street and Myers Street micro resurfacing is happening. Striping and everything should be completed within the next 5 days. So hopefully the construction will be going away and we're done and we'll have our finished product, which is really exciting. Another major milestone for Public Works is power was actually restored back to bedrock on the 29th. PG&E actually came out and set a new electrical meter. The pedestal's in place. We're doing some work on our side and we're moving forward towards bedrock. There'll be an update on bedrock in the next council meeting or two. We're working with Milton to try to get some preliminary ideas before we come back to you guys. Okay, real quick with museums. Last month we had 837 visitors to our museums in the month of October, which is fantastic. 690 kids came to our trick-or-treat event, which was very, very popular. Pioneer Museum actually got new windows installed into it, UV protected, which is really fantastic. We're going to be painting the east wall out there in the next week or two, weather permitting, and the museums will be closing for the season on November 23rd, just for an FYI. We do have a Pioneer Christmas schedule sometime in December. Once that date is determined, I'll let council know for sure. Let's see, sewer's doing what they're doing, cleaning and jetting and doing a lot of camera work on our collection system. We did paint all of our lift stations at not all of them, Orangewood, Riverview, and Olive Glen. And we sold about 2,200 gallons of low lead aviation fuel, 1,580 gallons of Jet A, and about 100 gallons of that was under the wing cell. That's with the fuel truck. I don't have any takeoff landing data because we had problems with our equipment this month, so hopefully I'll have a better number for us next. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Good information to hear. Thanks. Yes, sir, Mr.
Mayor, real quick. First, I want to thank Amy for getting that application. She made it sound easy, 958. I just can't tell you, corralling all the data, and when you get this application, she has a good idea what all the questions are going to be, but they always throw in, how many? Probably a handful of questions that applicants are not aware of, and by having all that information ready to go and copy and it's just a lot of work, and if we are fortunate enough to obtain that, I mean, that's a big deal to hopefully get 2 new engines. So keep my fingers crossed, or a ladder truck and an engine. Also want to thank Ruth's staff have been in the middle of a lot of software transitions. I think it started before I came on board, and it's still going on. And I just, with the resources that the city has, the number of staff, and taking on all that, I think they just deserve some recognition. We are converting to our new timekeeping software this pay period. So I'm sure there'll be some bumps, but her team have really put in a lot of effort that nobody sees. So just want to thank them for those efforts. And lastly, we got an email yesterday from the state fire marshal. I sent it out to you folks all right before the council meeting this afternoon, but ultimately they're revisiting the fire hazard safety zone maps. And there are going to be some implications on the city. We'll get the maps. It looks like in January we'll be required to have a public hearing to garner public input on that. But ultimately, it'll land in some restrictions in the planning and building department. So more to come on that. Obviously, the goals of that is to have these to designate areas if based upon the climate and the vegetation and a number of other variables to either be moderate, high, or very high hazard levels. So it's one thing that's on our radar to continue to look at fire insurance options. I know I've heard a lot about that lately. I think it's impacted probably everyone in this room or someone you know, and we've got to come up with a better solution for fire insurance.
Very true.
That's all I have.
Could I say one more thing? Sorry.
Please.
I should have mentioned that we have the Tyler conversions going on right now. And Tyler actually sent 2 representatives here to help out, Brittany in the back of the room there, who was so excited about being here that she came to the council meeting tonight. And so the system has been down for a week. I don't know if you've heard from anybody in the public, but I think we've done a pretty good job of managing that. We put a bounce back for all of the emails. So if anyone wrote an email in the last couple of weeks, we let them know that we wouldn't have any computer access or any software to work with for last week and this week. This week it should be up and running by the end of the week, and but the conversions are going pretty well, and so people will be able to apply online as soon as we get that up and running. So
a little more description about that, because I think the public doesn't understand what the Tyler conversions are.
For the public. So we've been using a system called Track It, and that's our permitting system. So whenever anybody submits an application, either on paper or by email, then we enter it into Track It, and it tracks all of our permits from front to back, through planning, through code enforcement, through engineering, through the building and planning departments. And we've moved over to a product that's made by Tyler. It's called EnerGov, and this product does the same thing, but this is the product that is used through most cities, I think, throughout the country, possibly at this point. So it makes things very streamlined. It also gives us the added ability of people can now apply for permits online. So they can just go onto our website, a link will take them over to that Tyler program, and then they'll be able to do everything that they were able to do before, but from the comfort of their dining room table. So we're pretty excited about that.
It's a nice application of technology to help people out. That's right. Thank you for being here, too. Appreciate that. All right, any others? Seeing none, next item would be consent agenda, correct? On the consent agenda, I want to pull item number 6 briefly, and then I'll entertain a motion for any other pulls on the consent agenda, or I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved, pulling item 6.
And we do have a resolution.
She'll read it after we approve it, yeah. Okay, call the roll, please.
I didn't get a second, I'm sorry.
I
Oh,
s-
thank
Yeah.
you. Motion passes 6 yeses, 1 absent.
All right. Real quick on item number 6, I would just, the meeting for the Measure U Committee, I'd like to move that to Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. We had a Wednesday meeting and we had a lot more people show up on that, and we've been struggling to get membership in that, so it's the only item on the agenda that I wanted to make on the meeting. So we
Okay.
just moved from Tuesday to Wednesdays with the same time factor is my suggestion.
And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll just cross-check that with the bylaws to make sure there's no specificity that states it has to be held on a Tuesday. And then if that's the case, then if there's no specificity, then, correct me
Then
if
you
I'm wrong,
just
then we can
change
just
your
move it to
regular-
Wednesday,
Change it.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you couldn't potentially have a conflict because I know the school district meets in here on Wednesdays?
They
Just check
meet-
that.
Yeah, so oversight is typically held in the evenings at 6 PM.
Yeah.
So it should not
Well,
conflict.
they roll, depending on which Wednesday it is.
I'll double check
Yeah, you
everything,
need to
okay?
check that, because
I'll
I knew
double check it
they
with-
do go past that time frame.
Okay, I'll double check it with what we have scheduled on our regular chambers calendar.
Our
Okay?
last meeting we had on Wednesday, we had a lot more people show up. That's why it seems to be an open time, so.
Okay.
With that, I would consider a motion to approve item number 6.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes.
I know it's just to confirm, move it from Tuesday to Wednesday.
Right.
And contingent, obviously, whatever mechanics need to be done in the bylaws,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep, thank you.
I'm going to ask Councilman Goodson to read the Youth for Change.
Yes, thank you.
And we have
I
some folks
always
here.
appreciate the opportunity to read the resolution and then to present it to some of my colleagues at Youth for Change. A resolution of the City Council of Oroville, California, recognizing November 2024 as Homeless Youth Awareness Month. Whereas homelessness among youth is a very significant issue nationwide, affecting thousands of children and young adults each year. And whereas the City of Oroville acknowledges that homeless youth are often vulnerable to exploitation, hunger, lack of access to education, and limited opportunities for personal growth and well-being, and whereas the challenges faced by homeless youth often include separation from their families, barriers to health care, mental health services, stable housing, and educational attainment, all of which hinder their ability to lead healthy, productive lives. And whereas national studies estimate that on any given night, over 4 million youth and young adults between the ages of 13 and 25 experience homelessness or housing instability across the United States. And whereas organizations in the city of Oroville, along with concerned citizens, service providers, and public institutions, work tirelessly to support homeless youth and provide essential services such as emergency shelters and counseling, education, job training, and mentorship programs. And whereas homelessness Youth Awareness Month, observed in November, brings attention to the issues facing homeless youth, and it highlights the need for continued efforts to prevent homelessness and provide adequate support to these vulnerable young individuals. And whereas raising awareness of youth homelessness encourages community action, it strengthens support networks, and it promotes policies that address the root causes of homelessness among youth in Oroville and beyond. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Oroville City Council does hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 as Homeless Youth Awareness Month in the city of Oroville, and encourages all citizens, businesses, and organizations to participate in activities, in programs, and initiatives that support and uplift homeless youth, and to advocate for solutions that address the challenges faced by homeless youth in our community. This resolution is to be passed and adopted by the Oroville City Council at this regular meeting on November 5th, 2024. Thank you so much.
Come on up, folks.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, if I may, real quick, we did have one public comment card on this. Did you want to take that now or after we present that?
We'll go ahead and make the present, and then we'll take the part.
We'll make the present.
Go ahead. Should come around. All right. Thank you.
For that public comment, we have Bill Spear.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. It's really cool to recognize the issue of homeless youth, and I would just like to talk a little about what our ministry does concerning homeless youth. We have approximately 20 facilities around Oroville, about 100 beds. About half of our facilities have children. They all are considered homeless, even though they're in temporary housing. We have homes with women with their children, homes with men with their children. We have some transitional housing that families that are restored in. We started our ministry was started in 1996. I went through it in 1998. I've been serving Oroville for 28 years now. This year, it's a pretty awesome thing. We have 9 seniors who are going to be graduating from our ministry, and it's just amazing at the amount of kids that we have. And also we are currently expanding our offices across the street from our facility to the old PG&E office, and excited for this next chapter of being able to help with the issues. A lot of times the kids get drugged through all this stuff because of the parents' drug addiction or dysfunction. And so just really honored to be able to be part of the solution all of these years of helping families get restored and being able to be part of these kids. I was at a football game, and one of the moms of the kids came up to me and said, "Hi, you don't remember me?" And I was like, "Nope." It was because she was a little girl when her dad was going through the ministry, and just all these years to be able to see that it does make a difference, and that there's a lot of the rescue mission, a lot of different programs, and the efforts are making a difference, and it is reducing homelessness. And as Councilman Weber was saying about, he notices the difference in our town about how we're dealing with stuff from other places where he goes. There is a difference, and it is making a difference, and it is an issue, and it saves a lot on the back end if we can get them on the front end with the Axiom and pouring into our youth. And so I'm hopeful in this new season that we'll be able to continue to pour into our youth. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming. And thank you, Councilman Goodson, for reading that.
Welcome. My pleasure.
Next item is number 8, regular business, Mission Esperanza Pallet Shelter Project and request for grant for operational expenses. Yes, sir.
I think I need to recuse myself.
For the presentation?
Yep. Thank you, sir.
I would love to.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're recused, you have to leave for the whole item, but
Okay.
you can come back and sit in the audience if you want to listen to the presentation in the gallery.
Okay.
Sit out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
Okay,
evening,
that's
Mayor
30
Pittman. Tonight, we have our city consultant from Silk Consulting, Susie Cockums, and she's going to provide you the update on the Mission Esperanza.
Okay. Welcome, Susie.
Thank you, Mayor Pittman.
All right.
Anyway, I'm here this evening to provide you with an update on the Mission Esperanza project. I see Kayla's got some pictures up there, but let's start with the presentation and we'll do the pictures afterwards. It's okay. There we go. Perfect, thank you. So last time I was in front of you, we had yet to start the construction on the Mission Esperanza project. Well, I'm happy to report that we have started construction, and I believe some of you, if not all of you, were able to take a little visit after we got the pallet shelter project started. Pallet shelters were the first to go up. So I'm going to cover a little bit about the project as a whole, and then we have some pictures at the end to share with you where we are as of this morning with the construction side of things. So pre-development has wrapped up, so we're done with that part of the project. Currently, we've got construction components in progress. The perimeter fence is near completion. They've got a couple of man gates, just what they are. Gates where men and women walk through that are not up yet. Those are going to be forthcoming, hopefully in the next couple weeks. The navigation center roof materials have been ordered. They're going to start that part of the project as soon as those materials come in, weather permitting, obviously. Navigation center siding has been ordered and replacement has kind of started. They've torn down the siding and are waiting for those materials to come in to put the siding back up. Interior framing has started. In the pictures that we'll see a little bit later, you will see where they're at with that part of the project. Exterior storage area is underway. The power disconnect boxes for the shelter units are complete. Pallet sheltered units are completely installed and look amazing. The pallet shelter installers that came down from Washington who put the project together said it was one of the best layouts and design that they've seen. So an intentional on our part, but we hit the nail on the head.
That's cool.
Wood perimeter fencing protecting the neighbors to the north of the project. There's a series of homes, residential homes there. That 7-foot fence is up, and we put that wood fence, and it's a pretty nice looking fence, if I do say so myself, behind their fence. So there's 2 fences there, so double security, if you will. And then LOPED updates have also wrapped up. Okay, where do I need to point it? Oh, there we go. I think I went maybe a little too far. No. Okay. Just as a recap, Mission Esperanza funding that we've secured, we've had 2 rounds of the encampment resolution funding for a total of $4.4 million. We had the ARPA, which was COVID money from both the city of Oroville and the county of Butte, totaling $1.25 million. Total funding for this project secured is a little over $5.7 million. Here's how the funding has broken down by component within the budget category. We've spent all of the pre-development funds, $20 actually overspent. The construction side of things is almost $2 million that we have budgeted, secured. Our budget is almost $3.2 million at this stage of the game. Administration budget's $211,000, operations $1.5 million, and then sheltering $732,000. Currently, our budget for construction is way over budget. We've talked about this several times that I've been here. We've made concessions with other items in those budget categories to make up that difference. So we pulled a lot of the operational funding, since we haven't opened our doors yet, away from operations and pushed it towards the construction side of things. It's all of our concept that we just need to get it built. The money will come afterwards in the form of services that we are providing, being a CalAIM service provider. It's a new pilot program that the state's running. So services that the shelter have been providing for 60 years are now reimbursable for those folks that are on Medi-Cal. So way to sustain the program. Thank you, State of California. Mm-hmm. And Department of Healthcare Services.
Can I interrupt just a minute?
You bet.
Is that CalAIM is for the purposes of therapeutic services, clinicians? It's medical billing, correct?
Correct. So CalAIM is a redesign of the Medi-Cal program. It's a 5-year pilot program where Medi-Cal has opened up their target populations of who they serve. They've included the homeless in there, and they've included service categories that are not directly connected to healthcare. So we have community health workers providing medically tailored meals, providing a shelter bed. Those are all not medical services, but they're covering it under Medi-Cal as a way to improve health outcomes and decrease social determinants of health. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Very interesting if you want to read up on it.
I know we use CalAIM for medical billing. I didn't know that there was an extensive, a broadening of that base.
Yes, and it's really a way for every service organization that serves the homeless to sustain their revenue.
Yeah, great.
If they're not doing it, give me a call and help you get on board.
Okay, thank you.
So, as I mentioned, we are leveraging funds to ensure our sustainability. When we had this concept about Mission Esperanza, we always knew that funding long-term to sustain it would be our top priority. And thankfully, CalAIM came through with this pilot project. It's not stopping our opportunity to write grants and continue to do the things that the mission has always done to sustain revenue, our donation network. We're revamping everything that we're doing to make sure that we have the funds to keep Mission Esperanza open long term, as well as to expand what we do on the housing side of things to get folks out of emergency temporary shelter into permanent housing beds. Cool. So in order to sustain the mission operations as well as the expansion of the Esperanza operations, a team has taken significant steps to increase our revenue to the organization. I just mentioned the Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan. So quickly, I'm not going to read everything up here, but payroll for 2024 through the first 9 months of the year through September 30th was $355,000. Operating costs for that same period, $555,500. Revenue generated through the Medi-Cal claims, again, we are not fully full of beds on both the men's and women's shelter side, current operations, and on the Mission Esperanza, not yet open. That revenue has only been $187,000. So that leaves year-to-date other revenue needs of $491,000 to make up that gap. I'm happy to report that our claims processing is expected to be upwards of $80,000 per month after the first of the year. So that will sustain the majority of our operations, even outside of other grant revenue or funds that we get. That is solely contingent on us opening the doors to Mission Esperanza and getting to at least 60% capacity in 90 days.
Cool. Very cool.
There are multiple grant opportunities coming up after the first of the year that we are already in discussions with the state to apply for. These are funding sources. One that we've applied for, the CalAIM incentives funding, we've been awarded this year. We will apply for another round of that. Again, highly likely that we'll get funded. And then there's another funding opportunity called Path Sighted. There's up to $1 million potential. This is a pie in the sky, ask for what you need, gap funding, and we'll be asking for as much as we possibly can. Again, we have not been funded for this before. This is the last round of the funding, so high probability that we get funded because we haven't applied before. That funding, both of those, the incentives and the Path Sighted funding announcements won't come out till later in calendar year 25. So that funding could be in our hands, you know, in the fall of 25 or in early 2026. Not yet sure when it'll actually be handed out, so to speak.
Got it.
Anticipated project milestones. We are going to start concentrated encampment outreach with Mr. Belser's community navigators with the Housing Authority. We've met to discuss what that's going to look like. We have a good game plan, and I'm happy to report that mission staff and his team are on the same page with how we're going to deliver services and begin that really concentrated engagement. Not that they haven't been doing that already, but our push, I guess, if you will be to get folks out of the encampment area and into Mission Esperanza. And we got to build that rapport and start having those conversations now so that once we open our doors, we can bring them in by the truckloads, so to speak.
Yeah, cool.
We are looking at hopefully wrapping up construction in December. I did receive an update from the construction lead on site, and if we are delayed at all, it will really be because of connection to the main power grid through PG&E. Mm-hmm. So that's our only holdup right now, and I don't know what they're working on an interim fix so we can get power to the site, and that's kind of a little snafu in and of itself. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. We're going to begin conducting intakes and enrollment in late December, provided that we have a January operational opening date. We plan on doing a grand opening and an open house, or a soft opening, if you will, in December. We're going to do two different types of engagement to the community. One will be an open house where we invite all of our service provider partners, folks that do the same thing that we do, and have the same level of engagement and interest. And then we're going to do a grand opening and ribbon cutting for all elected officials, city and county, as well as for the media. And that will all obviously be posted on all of our social media accounts as well. Expect a full opening in January. Again, PG&E is going to hold that date up if anything else. Everything else will be done by that time.
All right.
We plan on transitioning larger numbers of individuals from the encampment areas to Esperanza, basically full speed ahead in January, and then we'll begin remediation of the encampment area in February, probably late February. Again, weather, PG&E, all things permitting. That's it for the update. Kayla, can you show a couple of the pictures? Mm-hmm. So this is a drone aerial view. You can see the pellet shelters in the back, the community room on the upper right there. And then the main navigation center with the walls on the east side and partially, you can't see it in this picture, on the north side are off the building so that they can put up the interior walls and ceiling for the congregate bed areas. Next slide. Looking at some penguins here. So there's a better picture. They're starting the framing on the inside. So on this east wall that you're looking at by the vehicles, there'll be 2 emergency exit doors right by the women's and men's congregate dorms, and then windows also for emergency, I guess, egress,
Exit.
thank you, and just for fresh air on this side as well. These are not doors for folks to commonly go in and out of. They're just for emergency purposes. And then you see the ADA pathway around the north side of the building to the west side where the main entrance door is and where intake.
Councilman Goodson, do you have a question?
Yes, can you show, it's probably going to be on the previous, yes, please, where the animal/kennels would be, and then the safe spaces for vehicles.
Okay, so where the community room is up there, to the west of that and behind it. So where those
Or defense.
yes, along there, thank you.
Yes.
Without having a pointer, it's kind of hard to.
Right
yes,
there.
Yes. That's going to be where the safe parking and safe tents are. And then on the exact polar opposite side, down there is going to be where the kennels are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
Yes, please. Okay, and this is a drone video. It's kind of cool. It kind of goes fast, but it's really cool. See how the area has cleaned up quite a bit since those of you who visited.
Yeah.
It looks all level.
Mm-hmm. I think, Susie, I sat through a presentation at the Rotary Club on Monday that Alan gave, and I think it's good because it's not the same as any other facility.
Mm-hmm.
Some people relate it to the Chico one. It's not the same
not.
deal. And people, I think, in your outreach and in your openings and that stress that because it's a different deal. It's not the walk-on deal that they have in Chico. That's
Yeah, and I
not
think
helpful.
when you guys, those of you came and met with Alan at the site when it didn't even look this
Right,
good,
right.
I think he did a really good job of explaining to you our concept and how we are doing things a lot different than Chico.
Yes.
Chico did, Chico does. And this isn't even as pretty as it's going to be once it's done. And I say that because there's no trees, there's no picnic tables, there's no
Right.
warm and cozy outdoor environment. We haven't gotten that far yet, but
Yeah.
that is all part of our concept on making it as comfortable as possible. I mean, and of course, the trees are going to grow and provide shade so that pallet
Sure.
shelters are not,
Yeah.
hot, because that's an issue in our area. And then we have that community room, which they don't necessarily have at the Chico Pallet Shelter site. That's going to be our intake. That's where security is going to be when they're on site. Lots of different things are going to happen out of that community room, and that's not something that they have either.
Right.
So, and I think there's one more. Yep, please. And you'll see the egress road that goes all the way around the property for emergency vehicles. We haven't had them come in and test that yet, spin Brodies around, if you will, in circles to get around quickly. But there's plenty of room for them to do that and safely. And even with, the landscaping and trees that we're going to put up, we'll have plenty of room to move around.
Excellent. Yeah.
And with that, I'm happy to
Any
entertain
questions of
any
council?
questions. Is it where you guys thought it would be by this time? Are you pleased with the way it looks?
Pleased, yes.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Councilman Johnstone.
About this, I think that my prayer is that this, along with all of the other agencies that are in Butte County, it will really help us manage and provide a step up for the vulnerable population of the city. So I am really, really, really excited. I know you guys have put a lot of hard work into it, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for those less fortunate.
I appreciate that, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. The mission and Jordan Crossing Ministries and several other Butte County providers have convened a smaller group of us to start working on how we can better support one another, share resources, maybe share staff. You know, we might need, let's say, an outreach coordinator, but the mission can't afford to hire somebody full-time and doesn't need somebody full-time. So we share that person with the Jesus Center or the tourist shelter. In years past, and I've been engaged with the Butte County COC, the Continuum of Care, for many, many years. And it's always been kind of a competitive and power struggle because it's money-based, and we're trying to take that scenario out of working better and smarter together and being supportive, because if any one of those bigger organizations failed, if the Jesus Center wasn't around, if the tourist shelter wasn't around, if the mission wasn't around, the whole system takes a hit. And it's not good for the homeless anywhere in Butte County. So we're just trying to be more supportive and cognizant of what that system of care looks like.
And I really feel that. I really feel like Orville especially, I don't have a lot of experience with other, cities, but I really do. You can really feel that is happening in Orville, where people are setting aside their own thoughts and beliefs, and just everybody is really coming together to be supportive, to be the solution, right? To find a solution rather than complaining about the problem. So kudos.
And I feel that too, from someone who worked in the city of Chico. And I have friends that run every single service provider organization. Our approach in the city of Oroville is 1,000% different. And that's a really good thing. And I'll just leave it at that.
Councilman Goodson, you're in the queue?
I'm gonna reserve that.
Okay, Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue then.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank all the businesses in Oroville. I mean, to the comments, just to kind of extend a little bit more information along those lines. Other cities have struggled with this. They've seen upsets, changes in city council, because of the tremendous frustration that all of us feel with the homeless population. And so I just want to extend a huge thank you to our residents and again, our businesses who have really tolerated, a lot.
Yes.
And so no pressure, Alan. No pressure. You got this, right? Annie, seeing a vision, through to its fruition, a dream. I wish others were here to see this dream fulfilled, and it kind of breaks my heart. But I thank you to everyone that has worked on this so diligently, and Orville being so patient. And to see this through. And I think that, again, we will see 1,000% in the difference of outcomes that are positive as well for those that, are suffering as a result of, their addictions or whatever is going on there, that will be effective in seeing real results. So I'm looking forward to great testimonies and to things to come here in Orville. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So we still have more onto this item. As Susie stated earlier, a lot of the operational budget has been moved over to fill the construction over costs. And so the Orville Rescue Mission has requested a grant from the city of Orville in the amount of $100,000 to basically bridge the funding gap for onboarding new people coming in. We have funding in the Housing Program Fund, which is specific for providing housing solutions. And one of the areas that we can do is provide funding for costs for construction and operations for emergency shelters. So staff is recommending that we provide a grant in the amount of $100,000 to the Orville Rescue Mission just to get them to where they can start billing services through CalAIM.
For all the clients that will be through Mission Esperanza.
Is that to be reimbursed?
No, it's a grant, not a loan.
Okay.
Grant. Any questions on that?
No, I would like to make a motion to receive the presentation and approve the grant request in the amount of $100,000
I'll second.
to Mission Esperanza.
Motion seconded. Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 recusal, and 1 absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susie, and thank
you.
you all. Good job for the day. All right, item number 9 coming up. Resolution implementing the CAL FIRE 66-hour work week. Welcome, Chief Tens.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. What you have in front of you tonight is an amendment request to amend the CAL FIRE contract to reduce the standard firefighter work week from 72 hours to 66 hours, effective November 25th, 2024. This change requires an increase in staffing from 18 firefighters currently in the contract to 21 firefighters, one being a fire captain and 2 firefighter twos, resulting in an additional cost of approximately $404,289 this fiscal year and $693,067 annually. And just to go over those numbers again, annual increased cost for the 66 is $693,067, and this fiscal year is $404,289. And this is also, I'm throwing a lot of numbers out, but this is not including or considering the one-time benefit buy-down rate, and also this in CAL FIRE's movement to reduce the work week to a 56-hour, more of the traditional staffing hours for firefighters. This will line the city up to be able to accommodate that. There will be no additional fundings for the 56 or additional personnel at that time. So this gets us to that target and increases the amount of firefighters protecting the city of Oroville as well, meeting the demand of population increase. And I'll open it up for any questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Mayor, just to piggyback on that, this does, the 404,000 is basically about, it's roughly 7 months of that fully loaded cost. And as the chief said, which we haven't shared a whole lot, the buy down or the benefit buy down, cautiously optimistic about.
Yes.
And also we have some funds hopefully coming back for equipment that was rented out this past summer as well during fire season, correct? So hopefully we're going to be able to offset a lot of this increase in this fiscal year, but of course, no guarantees.
Yeah, and just to tag on too, in the staff report it mentions, it's something we don't have control over locally. This is something that was negotiated with the CAL FIRE firefighters and legislators. So this is something that's a trickle-down effect. It's affecting every contract that CAL FIRE has, including its own CAL FIRE side of employees as well. So, and unfortunately, we don't have any say over it, and that's kind of where we are with this.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Yeah, just a quick question. So 66, and then is there an actual schedule in place to drop it to 56, and if so, when?
The plan is to in the next 5 years, but that hasn't been settled yet. But this is the direction the department's going, and this is that step to get us there. And we had looked at some options on how we could reduce the cost to the city, but I don't think that's going to be possible because we're creating positions, and whether we hire one this year, one next year, and the following year, we're going to have to fill immediately on November 25th, which is going to create overtime anyways. So this gives us an opportunity to front that cost, get these firefighters, captain and firefighters on board, and get them trained and introduced to the city.
But if I understand you right, if we go to 56, we will have enough staff to meet that at the new level of the additional 3.
Correct.
So we won't have to worry about that part of it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Correct.
Any other questions from council? Well, I have a few things to say. It's interesting to me because I've never been an advocate for this contract at all. And I'm not talking about the individuals here in the Butte unit or anything by any means. This is a Sacramento thing. Sacramento dictates what we're going to do. We weren't asked about this. We never will be.
Will be.
In this kind of type of contract, basically you have to give a blank check to the state of California, the governor's office. I will note that in the Oroville City Fire Department, we already had a 56-hour work week for about $1 million less a year. So it's kind of a burn, and I'm not speaking to you at all. I'm just saying, from my perspective, many people elected me to change the situation with the fire department. And there's many people there that are still not happy with this particular contract decision. So that's pretty much my state. I know we're having a review coming up soon about the issues around this, and I look forward to that review. I still believe we could save a lot more money if we had our own fire operation, and that's just my opinion. And I think I could back it up with a lot of things. I was not an advocate for this when it started, and I also knew to get ready for new costs. And here exactly is a new cost figure that wasn't calculated. It was just decided by the contract negotiations between the union and the state of California. So, yes, it's
What it is.
It is good. I compliment the staff here that have figured a way to have this as a one-time cost factor. But I will tell you that the direction of the CAL FIRE staff is to go to a 48-hour work week, and that's in the works. You don't know about it. I know about it. It's a coming thing, and that's just another future expense that we need to be prepared to either pay or change the process. So I've never been an advocate for the contract, and I still won't be, but that's my opinion at this point. And I'm just going to say, I repeat it again, we were already at a 56-hour work week with our staff and personnel back in the day before this started. So now we're looking at a new increase here of over $500,000. And we're not going to change the staffing on the apparatus, are we?
No, sir. This is going to fill the void because it's the reduction in the work
Right.
week. So I believe it moves our staff down to 11 days
Right.
a month. So there's a few days that we have to fill, and
So
that's
our-
where those positions
Our
will come in.
staffing on the apparatus will stay the same.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. That's all my comment is.
Almost,
Yeah, just a quick, so just on the hiring, what's that look like? And so is that already in the works? Because obviously we're going to have to add 3.
So we can recruit within, obviously, but I can't do anything without resolution, and that's why we're here tonight.
Right.
Once there's
Sure,
a resolution,
Yeah.
then there's a hiring list throughout the whole state. We'll go through that list and we'll hand pick off that list.
I guess there's people in the wind or in the wings, so to speak.
Yes, sir. Yep,
Okay.
yep. There's lists created, promotional, and we'll pick right off that list.
Chrissy was going to make a motion.
motion that we approve resolution 9327.
Second.
Call the roll.
Motion passes with 5 yeses, 2, 4, 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Timms, for your presentation. Public hearings are none, correct?
We're good.
Done. We're all finished that. Hearing of non-agenda items, do we have any more cards?
I have none submitted, sir.
All right. Future agenda items. Any council members have a future item? Seeing none. Correspondence. I know we have a letter about Cal Water Excellence Award announcement. Could Lonnie come up and briefly tell us why we have such a thing? As we have the Cal Water representative here in our room tonight.
Good evening. I'm Lonnie Lind with California Water Service. I'm the local manager here in Oroville, and I actually know very little more than you do about this award.
All right.
I can tell you it is on the front of our conservation efforts. So I don't know how much you guys know about the conservation sort of efforts we put forward. There are benefits to customers to change landscaping over to smart landscaping and climate-friendly landscaping and drought-friendly landscaping and that sort of thing. We offer rebates on a regular basis. Actually, there is funding in each district to take part in those rebates. So if anybody out there listening wants to know more about these programs and how to get involved, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up with the right people. But we take it very seriously, even on the legislative end. We really think protecting California's water is a major benefit for us all long term. So it has something to do with that, and I'm not very clear on the details outside of that. Sorry.
Yeah. Any questions, Lauren? Thank you. Appreciate
All right.
your comments.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah. We now are to adjourn the meeting. Nothing further to be said. It is now 6:10. It is the regular meeting of the Orville City Council will be held November 19th, 2024 at 4 p.m. This meeting is so agended. Thank you all.